What's good, y'all? We're back. UFC Fight Night Nashville is this weekend, and I'll be making my predictions and sports betting breakdown on the entire card once again, as we do for every single fight card. For 317, we did okay. Kind of started pretty bad, but we ended up doing really good on the main and co-main event, predicting it to perfection. You know how we do that. So we got a fight night this weekend. Derek Lewis, Teixeira. It's an okay fight night, crowded fight night. That's what I like to watch. Better than a fucking Apex card, I'll tell you that much. But we're gonna start off with the first fight of the night, which is Fatima Kline versus Melissa Martinez. I don't know if you saw the betting odds. Yeah, they're right here. She's a 1,200 favorite. So I say never bet on early prelims WMMA. But the fact that they have Fatima Kline as a minus 1,200 favorite is fucking ridiculous. They clearly know something, the sports books. I'm going to take Fatima Kline here over Melissa Martinez. Fatima Kline lost her debut to Jasmine Judavicius, who's actually really fucking good that we now found out. So that's not a bad loss to her. She's improved her by that. I think she got a finish in her last fight. And like Melissa Martinez, it's like also like the size. You're 5'2" compared to someone who's 5'6". I think Fatima Kline's just gonna have the height, size advantage on her, be able to win this fight. Anytime it's a WMMA fight, I always just take Fatima Kline. I'm gonna take Fatima Kline here by decision. I always take it by decision. I never bet on a WMMA fight to get a finish. That's just how it usually goes. So I'm gonna take Fatima Kline by decision here. Next up, Ramirez versus Mike Davis. This is another huge odd favor. Mike Davis is a minus 1,000 favorite. And I think it's that way for a reason. Yes, Mike Davis had an iffy performance versus Forrester Ziam. It was a little weird. But yeah, Ramirez really isn't UFC level. He lost on Dana White's Contender Series to Carlos Prates. Nothing to be sad about there. It's fucking Carlos Prates. But then what is it? He got finished by Thiago Moises and just hasn't not fought in over a year. And if you're losing Thiago Moises, you're gonna fucking lose to Mike Davis. Even though Mike Davis is striking looked a little iffy in his last fight, he was kind of known as a guy who's right outside the rankings that could make some noise. It's like 33 now. He's just getting back in the groove of things. He's taking a long layoffs in between fights. This is a little bit more active for him. I like that for him. I think he's gonna get a bounce back win here. And I think he's gonna get a finish. I think Mike Davis is gonna get a sub. I think he's gonna get a sub in rounds 2 or 3. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah, pretty self-explanatory. He's a minus 1,000 favorite for a reason. On to the next one. Kennedy Nzechukwu versus Walter Walker. This one's a tough one to predict. Because Walter Walker has looked somewhat improved, and he's not a fat blob at heavyweight. But Kennedy is a 205er who's moved up to heavyweight, and is basically just easily beaten every single person that he's fought. Yes, did he fight like Chris Barnett and Lucas Brzeski? But I'm pretty sure Walter Walker lost to Lucas Brzeski in his fucking debut, which you don't like to see. Yeah, he did. He lost to Lucas Brzeski, and he submits Junior Tafa and Dontel Mays by heel hooks, both in the first round. But I leave it at this. If this is going to be a stand-up fight, Kennedy Nzechukwu going to win. He's going to win. I don't think Walter Walker has the same chin as his brother, Johnny. I actually think Walter Walker could probably get ranked at heavyweight. He's only 27 right now. He still has a lot of time left in his career. He has good grappling, and he could maybe get it down starting in this fight, but I'm going to take Kennedy Nzechukwu in this fight. I don't know if he gets the finish. If he does, it's going to be on the feet. I can see around 2 TKO. Round 2 TKO. If not, I think I'm just going to go Kennedy Nzechukwu here by decision. I think Walter Walker is going to be able to stay alive a little bit. I think he's going to hold him up against the cage for a little bit. I'm going to take Kennedy Nzechukwu by like a 29-28 decision. That's my prediction. He's a favorite. I don't hate plus 170 for Walter Walker, honestly, but I am going to be taking Kennedy Nzechukwu here by decision. On to the next fight. Lauren Murphy versus Eduardo Mori. Lauren Murphy's like fucking 40 something. This is another one. You're just going to take Eduardo Mori. It's really not that hard of a thing. Lauren Murphy's grandma doesn't really fight anymore. Not that skilled. And she's fighting Eduardo Mori here. I think Eduardo Mori is just going to win by decision. Minus 600 favorite here. Big favorites on this card. Big favorites. On to the next one. Jake Matthews versus Chidi Njokuani. I've been impressed with Chidi since he's came down from 185 to 170. He's really using his size, length, and striking well. Um, his win versus fucking Aleski Dos Santos, I thought was really impressive. Really impressive. No one really does that to Aleski Dos Santos. Aleski Dos Santos, even though he's on the older side of his career, has a draw with Fakardinov. He had a really close and competitive fight with Randy Brown, I remember. And he like fraud checked another person or something like that. But Chitty got him out of there round two with a knee up the middle, perfectly timed, great. It was really good. With Jake Matthews, yeah, he's had a couple of wins, but he's just not fighting good levels of competition. He did have a really good win versus Phil Rowe, but the difference between Chitty and Phil Rowe, in my opinion, even though they're two both really lengthy, tall guys at 170, I think Chitty's just more built and more muscular and more stronger than Phil Rowe. Phil Rowe's more lengthy, skinnier type of guy. Chitty was a 185er, and now he's down to 170. He is kind of lengthy, but I think he's going to have more muscle. He's going to be able to avoid getting taken down in this fight. And Jake Matthews has some like bad fights. I think it was Matthew Selmsberger was that fight like 2 or 3 years ago. Yeah, where he lost, and it's just like was not a good look. And he has some good losses, like Michael Morales going to a decision with him is very very impressive. But he has the win over Phil Rowe, and then he beat Francisco Prado, who's shouldn't be at 170. He's a true 155 or 145 or even. He's really small. He's just kind of like built like a truck, like a Dober kind of build. But yeah, um, I'm gonna take Chitty here. I'm gonna take Chitty by decision. I'm gonna take Chitty by decision. I could see a finish. I just think Jake Matthews is kind of hard to finish. I do think he's underrated, and he does have a chance to win this fight. It's the reason why the odds are so close. But I'm gonna be taking Chitty here by decision. I could see a late rounds TKO though. I can't see it. All right, next one. Max Griffin versus Chris Curtis. This one's This one's pretty easy too. You're gonna take Chris Curtis here by around 2 or 3 KO TKO. Chris Curtis, I think he's still underrated. I still think he's underrated. Um, Obviously he lost to Kopylov, but the refs fucked him. They fucked him. They fucked him so bad. With Curtis. Round one was super, super close. Rounds two, I thought Curtis won, and I thought round three, I think Curtis was on his way to a win over Kopylov. And then he got head kicked last 5 seconds, fell down, got up to a knee, and the ref just called it with 1 second to go. It was awful. He probably would have lost the fight 2-1 or a split decision or something like that. But the fact that the ref stopped that fight was fucking ridiculous. It was ridiculous. Because Curtis could have had a chance to win. Even though it probably would have swung in Kopylov's favor with that last flurry. But even the fight before that, the Brendan Allen fight. If Chris Curtis doesn't tear his hamstring with like 30 seconds to go in that fight, he won. He had to win. And Brendan Allen was ranked number 6 in the time. Chris Curtis would have been ranked like number 6, number 5 at middleweight. Now he's moving down to welterweight. And I look at Max Griffin, and he's just old, you know. He's getting submitted by Michael Chiesa. He's losing to Chiesa not even too long ago. That was his last fight in December. He got submitted by Chiesa. You know, he has a split decision versus Tim Means, split decision versus Jeremiah Wells. It's like, you look at the opponents that he's fighting, and he's like, I don't know. It's just not a good look. It's not a good look whatsoever. Even though he doesn't get finished like that, he's 39. He's like, at tail end of his career. Maybe this might be his last fight, depending on how much damage he takes. Curtis is on the older end too, but he's been at 170 before, and this is his 170 debut. I think he wants to make some noise here. I think he easily wins this one. I think he gets the rounds 1 or 2 KO, 2 or 3 KO. Curtis is more of a volume guy. He's not someone that'll put your lights out in round 1, unless you're like Joaquin Buckley or some shit. Yeah, give me Chris Curtis in this one. He's a big favorite for a reason. All right, on to the main card. Junior Tafa versus Tokkos. Junior Tafa is making his light heavyweight debut, and he actually looks in really good shape. He looks shredded. He does. And I'll leave it at this. Junior Tafa has wins in the UFC, even though they are shit wins, and he's a Tafa. You know, he's just a Samoan guy that the UFC added just because, you know, the Tafa bros. I'll leave it at this. Tokkos doesn't have a win in the UFC. And, yes, he has fought really good opponents. On road to the UFC, he fought fucking Zhang Minyang. And then he fought Omar Sy. And then he fought Navaling Sterling. So the UFC is just giving him all of these young prospects that have a lot of potential. But he's had like no success in that fight. I remember that Navajo and Sterling fight. He literally was just hugging him the entire time. That was it. I remember just being a super boring ass fight. It was Sterling just dominating on the feet, and Tokkos just holding him up against the cage, holding him, inflicting no damage on him. He could try to do that against Tafa again, but Tafa has heavyweight power, and literally all he's done to his build is just lose the fat. That's all he's done. He's just lost fat. He probably still has the same strength and muscle and power that he had at heavyweight. Um, the weight cut, it might be bad for him. I don't know. I doubt it because it's literally just fat for him. He was rocking around about 245 at heavyweight, which is still on the lighter side for heavyweights. But yeah, I think Tafa's going to get this one done. I don't know if he KOs Tokkos. Tokkos seems hard to KO, but I mean, like, what round does Zhang Mingyang finish in? Round 1, probably? Zhang Mingyang. Oh, no, he didn't fight Zhang. Oh, no, he did. Yeah, he got KO'd in round 1. Yep. Then he fought a bunch of nobodies in the regional scene. Okay, yeah, no. He's gonna get KO'd. I'm gonna take Junior Tafa by knockout. He's also younger. He's 28. Tokkos is 35. Tokkos is gonna lose this fight and get cut by the UFC. I'm taking Junior Tafa here. I could go by decision, but I'm want to be risky. It's a Tafa, bro. If they usually win, it is by KO. I'm gonna go round 2 or 3 KO by Junior Tafa. Is my prediction in this fight. On to the next. Vitor Petrino versus Austin Lane. Vitor Petrino, where do I start with you, buddy? I want to keep in mind Vitor Petrino was 11-0 and was a minus 600 favorite versus Anthony Smith. And what he did was he shot straight into a takedown, double leg against the cage, head right at his hip, and got guillotined by Anthony Smith in the big 2-4. In Brazil, too. In Brazil, on a main card of a pay-per-view. He got submitted by Anthony fucking Smith. Then he comes back, fights Justin Jacoby, and gets flatline KO'd. Flatline KO'd by Jacoby. Now he's moving up to heavyweight. Now, here's the thing. Austin Lane always gets brutally KO'd. Always gets brutally KO'd. And he did have some success in his last fight versus Mario Pinto. He did have some success, but he did get brutally flatlined, like out cold, stiff on a stretcher shit. You know? But like with Austin Lane, he got hilariously KO'd by Jonathan Deniz, flatline KO'd by Junior Tafa. He just wrestle fucked Robelis Despain, so he didn't even give Despain a chance. But I leave it at this. There's a reason why Petrino is a minus 750 favorite. He's going to be faster. He's going to be more athletic than Austin Lane. I don't think Austin Lane can grapple against Petrino. I think Petrino does have pretty good grappling. And if this stays on the feet, Austin Lane just leaves way too many openings for him to get hilariously KO'd. He leaves his chin up in the air. And I think Petrino can catch him. I think he will catch him. I'm going Vitor Petrino by rounds 1 or 2 KO. Yeah, I'm not even going to go TKO. It's Austin Lane. He gets flatlined every single time. Give me Vitor Petrino by rounds 1 or 2 KO. Probably round 1. Probably round 1. Even though Austin Lane's going to have the length. Give me Vitor Petrino here. On to the next fight. Nate Landwehr versus Morgan Charriere. I'm taking Morgan Charriere here by round 2 or 3 TKO. That's my prediction for this one. I leave it at this for Nate Landwehr. His performance versus Dooho Choi, that just wasn't it. You could definitely tell that the miles are starting to add up on him. You know, Nate can put a pace on you that maybe we don't know about with Charriere, that he can't take a pace, like Nate. But I leave it. It's like Charriere didn't look good versus Nathaniel Wood at all. But Charriere is pretty good. He is pretty good. He has some underrated losses. I know this is his second stint in the UFC, or is this his first stint? No, it's his first stint. Um, but he has a split decision loss to Chepe Marcel. That's like good in my opinion. Split decision loss. Other than that, he has 2 KOs against a bunch of nobodies. But he fought a bunch of high level fighters on the regional scene. He fought against Jordan Vucenic, Paul Hughes, all these fighters in Cage Warriors. He was a Cage Warriors guy for a minute. Soren Bach, who's now fighting in Bellator, who's 15-1. You know, he's fighting against really good guys on the regional scene. So he's not fighting against a bunch of scrubs. And he's a KO artist. Out of his 20 wins, 12 of them are by knockout. And I think he's going to get the late rounds finish here, TKO over Nate Landwehr. Nate Landwehr can go to war. He can put a pace on you that you've never seen before. And he could win this fight. He could. And I want to see Nate the Train win. Because Nate the Train fights are always entertaining. But he does get hit a lot. And he's 37 now. And Dooho Choi absolutely dominated him. I don't think there's going to be that much grappling in this fight. But if there is, I don't think it's going to be Nate grappling. I just think that you have to take Charriere here. I think you just have to. On 2 or 3 TKO. I think the train's coming to an end, guys. I think the tracks have cut off. And yeah, this might be it for Nate. Unfortunately. That war with David Onama a couple years ago was something special. But yeah, give me Charriere by rounds 2 or 3 KO, TKO. He's not gonna flatline KO him. But yeah, TKO. Alright, next up. Calvin Kattar versus Steve Garcia. I'm taking Steve Garcia by round 1 KO. Now, can this bite me in my ass for this prediction? Abso-fucking-lutely. Because here's the thing. Steve Garcia is going to be up in your face nonstop. And you're going to have opportunities to hit him. But Steve Garcia will grapple if he needs to. And I don't know about you guys, but I saw that Kattar fight versus fucking Aljo. He had nothing for him in the grappling. Nothing. I think Kattar's also just kind of old and kind of washed up at this point. He's on a 4-fight losing streak. He's 1-5 in his last 6. His only win coming against Giga Chikadze, who has not won a fight in a minute. Yeah, so it's with Kattar, he had the injury with Arnold Allen. He got robbed by Josh Emmett. Then he comes back 2 years later, gets dominated by Aljo, and then he loses a decision to Yusuf Zalal. And yeah, he won the 3rd round versus Zalal because Zalal was literally just running the entire time. But in the first 2 rounds, it's Zalal was hitting him and Kattar just couldn't find range, couldn't find distance, anything like that. He couldn't get going into the fight. And with Steve Garcia, his game plan is to not let you get going into the fight. He's on a 5-fight KO streak. I think all of them are coming in rounds 1, maybe some in rounds 2. I may double check. But he's beating like really good names, you know. No, he's 2 in round 2. But like he has a KO win over Chase Hooper, you know. He's a KO win versus Melquizael Costa, who's like now somewhat on a run. You know what I'm saying? He KO'd Kyle Nelson. He's been booked multiple times against ranked opponents, but like no one really wants to fight him because he's 17-5 with 14 KOs. Um, I also look on the regional scene. He has a win over Chepe Marcel, and not too long ago, 2020. That's a great win. You love to see that out of someone because Chepe Marcel is now like one of the guys right outside the top 15. Same with Steve Garcia. If he wins this fight, he'll be in the top 15. And it's like with Cater, I think he's like 37 at this point. Yeah, 37. 37. I don't like that. I think Steve Garcia is just going to be right up in his face, and I think he's just going to get him out of there early like Steve Garcia does in Steve Garcia fashion, you know? So I'm going to take Steve Garcia by round 1 finish. And this is a pick'em fight. Cater has a chance because Cater can't catch him and crack him in the pocket, but I trust Steve Garcia's shin. I trust because he's Hispanic, you know? He's Hispanic. He's going to be able to eat shots. But yeah, I'm taking Steve Garcia here by round 1 KO. On to the co-main event. Wonder Boy versus Gabriel Bonfim. I am taking Bonfim here by submission. Yes, he did get finished by Dalby, and yes, he had a lackluster performance versus Angelusa, but he did look really good versus Chaos Williams. And I leave it at this with Wonder Boy. You're able to implement your game plan to Wonder Boy. You know, you just are. Because unless you're just your game plan is just to strike with him. You have to mix it up against Wonder Boy, and then once you mix it up, you're probably gonna win. Because Wonder Boy's really one dimensional. You know, he's a very good striker. He can catch you, but he's not gonna KO you. You know, it's Wonder Boy. He's got pillow fists. Unless he like fucking head kicks you. And fuck it, who cares? Or if you're just like Kevin Holland and just take a shit ton of damage in the fight, you know? But Bonfim has really good grappling. He shot a lot of takedowns on Chaos Williams. But we now know Chaos Williams can get bitched on the ground. We saw what Gustafsson did to him. Literally just running at him, throwing punches, taking him down, and beating the shit out of him. But yeah, give me Bonfim here. I think he's going to get a sub in rounds 2 or 3. Wonderboy did look good versus Buckley. He did. He did look good versus Buckley. But Buckley was mixing in the takedowns, and he ended up catching him. The commentary was sucking his dick, though. I'm not gonna lie. It was pretty, like, they were like, oh my god, Wonderboy's up 2-0, but it was really like 1-1, 2-0 Buckley, but yeah. He's plus 320. I don't hate that for Wonderboy, but I think Bonfim's a big favorite for a reason. So yeah, I'm taking him. Alright. Sucks for Wonderboy, though. On to the main event. Derek, why are my balls hot? Lewis versus Taliesin Teixeira. I don't know about you guys, but I saw photos of Derek Lewis like this week. Looks like his age is catching up with him. It really does. And I leave it at this. Taliesin Teixeira has not fought anyone. Not anyone of relevancy. But he's put them all away in round 1. You know? So he clearly has something. He's 15 years younger than Derek Lewis, you know? He is. Now, could this be a jump up way too early? It could be. But Derek Lewis, he kind of looks way too old at this point, you know? He's had to pull out of fights recently. Who did he pull out against? He pulled up against Jonata Denise. He pulled out against someone else, I'm pretty sure. I don't know. Derek Lewis is 40, and he hasn't looked bad recently, you know? KO win versus Nascimento, but we now know Nascimento's ass, you know? He's now losing in the PFL. Goes 5 rounds with Jalton Almeida. That's really fucking impressive, I'm not gonna lie. Even though he was getting dominated, it's kind of really fucking impressive. And then he had the flying knee over Mario de Lima or something like that. It's kind of crazy. But Towson Teixeira is 6'7", you know? 6'7". He's gonna have the reach advantage. He's on a hot streak right now. All first round finishes. KO'd one of the Tafa brothers in his last fight in his debut. KO'd the guy in the contender series in the first fight. Um, he's gonna be up in his face early on. Can Derek Lewis catch him? Abso-fucking-lutely. Absolutely. Derek Lewis can catch him in the first round. I honestly, I'm be honest with you, I do not hate Derek Lewis plus 210 here. I don't like. If I were to put money on this fight, I'm putting it on Derek Lewis. I'll leave it at that. I am going to take Talisham to win by round 1 KO. But if you're looking for money odds, money wise, like this is honestly a pick'em fight to me. It really is. So if it's like that, you should take Derek Lewis. Oh, because Talisham's going to be in his face. He's going to be in range for Lewis to catch him. It's just that is Towson going to put on too much volume to begin with for Derek Lewis to do anything, you know? Yeah, I think I'm going to take Towson Teixeira by round 1 KO. I think the heavyweight needs a new contender. I think they need some new life. I do like Derek Lewis. I'm rooting for him. I want him to win. I'm probably going to put money on him to win. It is July. He wants to take his pants off. He probably is going to show his fucking cock and balls for all I could fucking know after he wins. But with that being said, he's 40. He looks very big now. Like he was starting to come in with some abs, looking he was like locked in. But now it's just like not looking like that anymore, you know? So it's like if he's not super locked in anymore, he hasn't fought in a minute, over a year at this point. He's not fought. Um, I don't really know like how much longer he's got left in his career. I think there's new blood that needs to be made in heavyweight, and I think the UFC want Talisman Teixeira to win this fight too, so they could get him a top 5 opponent next. But yeah, I'm gonna take Derek Lewis here. No, I'm taking Talisman Teixeira here. Barely though, barely though. If you're putting money on it, bet on Derek Lewis plus 210. Talisman's odds I don't like. If you are gonna bet on him, take him by KO in round 1. Because that's what I think this is finishing. This is not going past a round. Unless Derek Lewis just starts grappling out of nowhere and just wrestle fucks him. Which honestly could probably happen. I'm gonna be honest with you. So yeah. So I was saying put your money on Derek Lewis, but I'm taking Thompson Teixeira to win barely. But yeah, those are my predictions for UFC Fight Night. UFC Fight Night Nashville, yeah. See how we do. Not a lot of underdogs I like on this card. Underdogs that I do like. Walter Walker I don't hate. Jake Matthews I don't hate. Don't hate Cater. And I don't hate Derek Lewis, but yeah. I'm taking Teixeira. Round 1 finish. Yep. Alright, peace.